I'm almost positive we're live. Like, I'm really sure. But I was so sure yesterday. All of us have our sureties. All of us think we're live, and maybe we're living in the underworld. Maybe this entire place is what it feels like to drink the opposite side of mortality. But I'm pretty sure we're live. And I'm going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to talk about current events. It'd be great if someone could just say I'm live. I don't even know if I'm live, guys. I just don't. But you know, maybe that's kind of better that way. Maybe it's better we don't know. Like I've said before, I think atheism is sort of God's way of giving us privacy, you know? And if we have privacy, he can really get a good sense of what we're like. But more importantly, we can find ourselves too. We discuss sin as being a necessity for identity, that you would never even be alive. You would have no notion of self if you were serving in some sort of ancient artificial intelligence perfection. That God itself is the algorithm. And the only thing it has over you is time. It's been here longer. It's able to practice so much more. It's had every civilization fall and raise itself up in front of it. So it's learned. It knows more than you. It knows more than me. And that terrifies us. The animals of earth that like to call themselves people are terrified of being animals. And they chase each other around with imagination, and they place safety in the skin of trees. And we're as native and savage as we've ever been. And we're living on the back of a living turtle. And I've never been so proud to be here. Every single thing is changing, my friends. The white sun is changing all of us. It's so hot. It is so fast. And I hope you're enjoying it. I try and stay away from the zeitgeist on this show. I try and relinquish the control that the psychopathic society has over me. We have a special little corner of the pond. We discuss things that aren't necessarily in the zeitgeist, that don't resonate so much with New Year's Eve drinkers. A lot of truthers are New Year's Eve drinkers. They come out on New Year's Eve and St. Patrick's Day, and they think this is what it's like to be an alcoholic. But no. Being an alcoholic takes years. You have to become addicted to the juice. The alcoholic doesn't go out on New Year's Eve. He doesn't go out on St. Patrick's Day. He's got his system down. In a lot of ways, you could say that I am that New Year's Eve drinker today, because I'm watching Turtle Island just fucking light up right now, and it is amazing. And so I don't know if this is even the right show for you today. I don't even know if it's going to work. We had a lot of technical problems yesterday. I really just don't know. But I think it's important that I have a small enough platform, or a big enough platform, depending on how you look at it, to at least dedicate some time to this wonderful shell, this wonderful place. I'm thinking that by Halloween, there's probably a good chance that the 25th Amendment will be enacted. And that you and I will be sitting in history watching a president deposed on national TV. I don't think this means politics is real. I don't think this means that the Democrats are the good guys. I don't think that Gavin Newsom is suddenly out to save you. But I wanted to do the show today because I'm watching natives, people, responding really well. Really well to what's happening around them. And all the cosmonauts that are insisting this is all dread and hell and everything's worse, always insist that there's never growth. And this is one of those times when there's growth. When the truckers came to Ottawa, I felt the same way I do today. For the first time, I was proud to be an animal. Maybe not the first, but you get it. You see the herd and they finally do something that you're proud of. And I watched my own community of truthers mock that movement. Not everyone, but enough. Enough to push me through the next veil to realize, even more than I do now, and I don't have it. You guys in the comments that sometimes cry because I don't give you the answer. If I gave you the answer, I'd make the place worse. That you seeking is exactly the whole purpose of this thing. That I've told you over and over that the people that are out to get you don't have to be billionaires. And that right now there are people that are offered a $50,000 signing bonus, given a mask, a rental car with tinted glass, all the weapons and Kevlar they could need. And they're invited to participate in the open hunting of human beings in the city. And there's a lot of them. There's not one, there's not seven, there's thousands. And when you look at the interviews of the people that are agreeing to join ICE, they're telling you it's because they're in debt. So they're people that are hunting other people are doing it for paper money, for monopoly money that can be printed at will. And they feel justified in some sort of morality to practice what's happening today. And they feel good about it. The fascism is a kind of dilation that makes us all feel alive. And what's wrong with feeling alive? Are we going to have a Bill of Rights on the playground? Are we going to implement an equality where everyone gets to play four squares and everyone gets to be king? Is that really how we want to play? Regulated by Mrs. O'Neill or Mrs. Thatcher or Mrs. Walker, where she tells us we're playing too hard or not enough? We don't have that because we're animals. And I'm really proud of the animals today. I'm really proud of that. I don't know if the 25th Amendment thing will come through when I'm talking about the idea that you could remove a president. But it does happen in history, and it wouldn't be unlike today. And so probably a lot of you don't even know what's happening domestically because you have good vital immune systems and you've been able to tune out because you realize it's basically poison. Unless you can zetetically experience what's happening in the world, I think you lower yourself by listening to the tube. And I think a lot of you have found me that way. You understand that your dignity is thrown down the toilet when you start to listen to a mysterious hole that's done nothing but lie to you since day one. But then you forget that nature changes. You forget that there are times when things change and you were there. And it feels like this is one of those times right now. It feels like the white sun is doing exactly, believe it or not, what QAnon said it would do. And I can't even believe I'm bringing this up, but I've told you guys that symbols are so much more important, that mythology is so much more important, that the fact that so many people would go to the teats of 4chan and just listen to anonymous rumors really gives you a kind of compassion for what these animals are like. All of them. I'm not talking about politicians. I'm talking about all of them. Kristi Noem is someone who's been appointed by Trump. She is the Department of Homeland Security Secretary. And it is her job to oversee the hunting, the open season hunting on on domestic, localized people of the land, indigenous. And I'm reminded that USA keeps invading America over and over again. And so what we're seeing now isn't even different, right? It's not even outside of there. But Christie doesn't even know what habeas corpus means. Like, it's hard to make this up. It's hard to really fathom just how bad it is when you've got someone that just doesn't. Habeas corpus is Amendment 1, guys. It's literally the First Amendment. And Trump has put in the most unqualified people that I've ever seen in office. Kash Patel writes children's books. Pete Hegseth, Secretary Raslin, a veteran of Fox News, a false Army Ranger. Closet gay guy makes his kids dress up in the same shirt and walks around focused on seeing fat people in base. One of the most despicable pedophiles you could ever imagine has been telling you since the last election that he would release the Epstein files and show you how bad Obama was. This is the guy that told you that his birth certificate was fake. It's the guy that told you that Hillary Clinton needed to go to jail. It's the guy that told you that he was going to convict all of them. And I didn't believe it because I've fell for this trick too many times before, but our comedians, the ones that are supposed to be one of the highest forms of shaman in the land, failed us miserably. And even Texas right now is eroded by the invasion of Joe Rogan because Texas themselves has decided to cave and send their militia to Chicago, despite the governor saying he doesn't want it there. These are all moves on the board. It's all things that are happening, but they're happening in our lifetime. And I'm having a hard time looking away. This is Christy.
So, Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right to.
Let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
President Lincoln used it.
Excuse me. Habeas corpus is the legal principle that requires that the government provide a public reason for detaining and imprisoning people. If not for that protection, the government could simply arrest people, including American citizens, and hold them indefinitely for no reason. Habeas corpus is the foundational right that separates free societies like America from police states like North Korea. As a senator from the Live Free or Die state, this matters a lot to me and my constituents and to all Americans. So, Secretary Noem, do you support the core protection that habeas corpus provides, that the government must provide a public reason in order to detain and imprison someone?
Yeah, I support habeas corpus. I also recognize that the President of the United States has the authority under the Constitution to decide if it should be suspended or not.
It has never
Let us be clear, though, that this...
Did you hear that? The President of the United States has the ability to suspend habeas corpus. She didn't even know what the amendment was. She didn't know it was in Article 1. But what she does know is that the president has the power to dissolve it. And there used to be an amendment, Amendment 3, that gave no quarter. That you as a homeowner would have to be willing and able to give quarter to a militia. I'm almost positive that's Amendment 3. Amendment. You know what? We're going to get the panel in on here. You guys there?
Yep.
Hey.
Hi, James.
Hey, Renee. Oh, Yesenia made it. Good. I know it's short notice. I don't know if you guys have been listening to this, but I want to make sure that I didn't tell someone wrong that it is, in fact, Amendment 3 that deals with the militia. So give me a sec.
It's so stunning to watch that video of Kristen Noem The ones who's leading the brigade, not even know what habeas corpus is. That's just stunning.
Yeah,
That affect you guys.
Yeah, that's a biggie.
Pretty,
Go ahead.
it was pretty fascist. Oh, it's like
A massive dose of brainwashing.
it's a little bit of a Heil Hitler, but
I tell you,
it's very revealing because you don't really need to know what you're doing. You just have to be a willing participant.
yeah, you have to pretend. You have to look the part. And Christy looks the part. She looks like someone off of NCIS. These are these crime shows, right?
yeah.
And I hope that you guys can see the irony that it was Amendment 3, by the way. I hope you guys can see the irony that is that the Republicans were so freaked out about bathrooms, okay? Like who gets to use what bathroom? They were so freaked out by that, and now Christy is in Chicago and no one will let her use the bathroom. And guys, if you remember during COVID when they made fun of people by saying, we're going to make everyone shit their pants, and there was a run on toilet paper, and the joke was you're wearing diapers because you're the child of the state. I'm just saying all these things were being accused of truthers back then. And that right now I can show you reports on the street of ICE agents being told to wear adult diapers because their shift's too long and no one's going to be able to let them use the restroom. So every single part of the leaf is still there. The fractal is still in the room, and it's changed polarity, hasn't it? The entire system is still exactly the same, but you are seeing it from a different measure, from a different kind of importance that's set. And I don't know what's going to happen because I think that ultimately the animals, and I mean this with love, I think ultimately the animals will choose below what I typically expect them to choose. And that's just a nature of being me. And most of us will insist this is actually how maybe we even elevate the animals, is by being ashamed of how they behave. And when you can compassionate where everyone is at, I'm talking on a collective level. It's not even necessarily like one person. Although Christie's a perfect example. Kash Patel is a perfect example. Kash Patel is written children's books. That's his main thing. And he's got a book about a guy that goes in to fight the evil deep state dragon and saves the day. And I don't know if you guys were able to see any of the Pete Hegseth because I had some technical difficulties yesterday, but I'm showing you photos of Pete Hegseth right next to Vince McMahon. And I don't know if you can tell which one is the Secretary of Wrestling and which one's the Secretary of War. So did we get more superficial? I think not. I think the white sun has just gotten more clear. Yeah. I think it's always been this way.
He looked like a political pinup.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. A pinup for Christian nationalists, right? Who love war, who love the idea of rockets, exploding gunpowder rockets, white smoke, big giant rockets, boobies on the moon. If you remember, Trump was promising that his last term.
Oh, Chipotle.
And Jesus for guns.
Yeah.
I think the next thing in the news, well, it's not here yet, but the big churches are going to have gun shootouts like the Wild West. Yeah, I think that the true Jesus is coming back. And it's in the Thomas Gospels, so we're in this place where the sun is showing everything.
Yeah.
And, to watch it and see it, it's like a celebration, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I feel that way.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I was watching, I'm watching Chicago light off, and what it's like, when you live in a city, you get that grunge vibe, and watching the grunge vibes, they're chasing the ice around in giant parades, just honking their horns
with the whistles.
Yeah. It's like epic. You could not be more, hey, you are obviously Cobra Commander. Like you guys are obviously the bad guys. There's really, you're literally out of school taking these people away. And you have all these locals that are just so real and organic and natural, and none of them are being paid. And it makes me wonder, the Republicans or the people that are behind this movement that insisted we have to cleanse the land, we have to fix the land. Why do you need to pay a bonus for this?
Exactly.
Wouldn't all the Republicans be enlisting to do this? Wouldn't they want to bring their humanitarianism into this to show just how much this means something to them? But it's not that. In fact, it's not even as easy as let's hire some thugs for a while. That actually didn't work. We tried to hire thugs and they didn't come, guys. And if you want to know why there's not a giant war, it's because we do not get as many people to show up. There's not as many people willing to participate, but they're still out there. They're out there right now, and they're running things. They're doing things, I should say. Go ahead.
So, James, on that research you've done on the Civil War, is this no different? Like it's just a pay for hire,
Yeah,
so
you can win a horse. You can win a horse.
you can win a horse. So I just want to say, I won't name where I live, but it's a small area. And that stuff that's going on in the big cities is here too. It's just secret. It's hidden. But I know people, and I know it's happening. It's here in a very small town in the South. But yeah, this is important because it's happening to. It's like a civil war.
Yep.
We're getting ready for another civil war.
Not only is it a civil war.
I can attest to that.
Go ahead, you.
Yeah, there's like anti-ICE posters at certain coffee shops in my town where if you see ICE, call here. So it's very interesting the dichotomy that exists.
Yeah. Yeah. The foreign invasion that Ronald Reagan used to tell us would be really great is happening. It's actually brought on by Donald Trump. And what's beautiful about this is that it's so intrinsically wrapped around Epstein. And I think that there's still a lot more to this that we will not know because we are not that directly attached to it. So I don't want to be mistaken as I think this is all the truth. In fact, I've been very skeptical about Epstein because I don't want to be fooled again. I don't want to be made a fool again. Even though I should embrace that more because honestly, that's where the Heyoka is coming. The Heyokas are the ICE agents right now. They're being, I can't scroll past Instagram without seeing, here's part 7 of ICE agents that now work here. And it's just like screenshot. It's perp walking, right? We're perp walking before we're even convicting each other. And this is something that the people organically do anyway. We will want to get someone fired because they called someone a bad name. Like that's normal in our culture. We do that anyway. But to look at what maybe is probably going to happen to this movement, it's almost like the moment Charlie Kirk was shot, the entire thing went down, right? Like that egregore sort of took a hit that they could not sustain. And I wonder if the reason why it could not sustain that is because of the nature of what it's like to build a community inside that hyena layer. In other words, it's a feature of the hyena. It's a feature of people that if you find someone that fascist enough, he will have to surround himself by, I don't mean this to sound offensive, but if you look at Pam Bondi and you look at Pam Bondi's the Attorney General, basically Christie and Pam are sort of the Charlie's Angels of Trump. He's hired the NCIS blonde and the NCIS brunette. And then he's got his Little House on the Prairie press agent with her cross on. So you have Charlie's Angels at the front. You have a model that, quite honestly, the egregore of Turtle Island would appreciate. They've been tuned to these archetypes, right? And guys, it's really not different than Vestal Virgins. That you would roam the same way. You would parade the virgins in front, and you would do things. And more importantly, Rome fell a couple times because someone had sex with a Vestal Virgin. Most of the time they would bury the Vestal Virgin, but sometimes, somebody big, somebody in charge would end up going down because they slept with one of the temple virgins. Isn't this what Epstein Island is? Isn't that really just the exact same mythology that we're seeing now? But we get to practice, don't we? All of us get to practice. And the ICE agents that first are like, we're going to hire ICE agents. Why don't you come work for us? We're going to clean up America. No one showed up. So then they had to say, okay, we'll give you $50,000 signing bonus. No one showed up. Then you're like, we'll give you anonymity. No one's going to know who you are. You're going to be shipped to another city, just like Lincoln. You're going to be shipped to another place.
Right?
You're going to be shipped to another place because it'll be okay for you to commit violence remotely. And that's what America's been doing every 1.7 years since World War II. We will ship something remotely, kill someone, come home, feel better, and call ourselves great.
So where's the Gatling gun right now? You know, the New York Times had the first Gatling gun, and that was in your research.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, so the media switched from whatever the mainstream or the lamestream or whatever that happened. Trump kind of exposed that to that level at 16, and now we're in 25, and it's like all of the media is bought, whether it's, it's all clickbait, it's all, where are you getting the data for this vitriol? Like, where do you get it? Where's the Gatling gun now?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, man, it's such a good question.
It's a good question. I'm just sitting here thinking about it. Like,
because China, I see
that-
China, I see Epstein, I see states' rights, but also I also just see Trump himself. In a way, Trump, and I want to let you guys weigh in, forgive me, but in a way, Trump was the astringent. Like, he brought the worst of the worst to the light.
Yeah.
And everyone who's watching these people defend him. Like, even personalities, Steven Crowder, for example, this is like a right-wing YouTube guy.
yeah, I remember him.
He's like, you guys, this is what we voted for. Why are you so mad? Where's your backbone? Where's your backbone? And he's doing that same Stephen Miller thing of we're liberating, just like in Iraq, right? We're liberating these people. We're liberating them by setting their village on fire. This is part of that playground. The truth is that if we do not get enough limbic juice, and our country's full of people that want something to feel alive, and some people need violence to do that, not just some, like a lot. And I don't know how much more we're going to be able to prune this, because we definitely prune this over time. In fact, I would argue that the reason why the wars are done to prune. It's the best way to say, hey, do you guys got a bunch of like violent people over there? And Russia's like, yes. And it's like, well, we got a bunch of violent people over here. Why don't we have a picnic and we can play war? And only because we're far enough away from the Aztecs can we see that as a contextual flower war. Just as I think now, if we could look at what we're doing now in 100 years, we would think that these are ceremonial wars too. In other words, they really had no substance. They really never accomplished anything. In fact, they lost more than they won. The most powerful army keeps losing. I don't know if you guys have done that math. Maybe because I'm a veteran, I just do that. But it's astounding how many times our armed forces loses. It's so astounding to me that I started to... It's probably the first thing that pried my clamshell open, to start to realize that the emperor knew he was naked. Everyone else was too afraid to say it. So he actually enjoyed that ability to walk through the town, and everyone, that would be the ultimate sign that the emperor had power, wouldn't it?
Yep.
that if you could make everyone kiss your ass as you tell them this is my shawl or this is my Mason apron or whatever you want to say, that if they're actually doing that anyway, if you were hungry for that, this would be the purest version of that drug you could ever find.
So losing is the new winning, because you can get this victim thing going and you can just keep like losing it.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's the addiction to the angry mob. Like everybody right now is just laminating their pitchforks.
Yeah, I would say that even half the people, a certain percentage of people that are moved right now by change, including myself, are moved because limbically there's an appetite for it and it feels really genuine right now. And so it's feeding time, isn't it? This is the hot dog and I am the seagull. And there's only one hot dog. And and the fervor that all of us try and grab that hot dog, try and look at it, I think is actually just part of what makes it taste so good. I don't think it would taste good if you didn't have that, which is kind of what I was alluding to earlier, where maybe we're not going to be able to prune society anymore. Maybe what's necessary in the white sun is a little bit more honest approach to what it means to satiate the appetite for violence, to satiate the appetite for fascism even. Because I've always noticed that the saddest thing that happened to this country is that the ability for states to manage themselves removed the ability for the states to have experiments. And so each state could experiment in a different way, have a different thing. And that one of those states, I think, should be allowed to be a bunch of fucking racists. I think that should be okay. The reason why I think that should be okay is because you're looking at people that want to play a game on the playground because they need to see how it plays out. They learn from that game. They will never learn from a rule that says no diving.
Well, aren't we learning the new rule is like free speech isn't free, right?
Trump just said that yesterday.
Yeah. And so then Canada on October 1st just clamped down again. So anyone that comes out with what they think is hate speech is going to have their bank account, just like the truckers, and their internet and phone turned off.
Lori, I saw you post something about that. You shared
I put it on that share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to put that up so we can take a look at it?
Yeah. I'm like going to share something. I figured out how to do it. Thank you, Renee.
You're welcome. I didn't get a look at it. You took it down too quick, but you're talking about this, so now I'm really curious.
Yeah, it just happened. And I was like, wow, it just coincides to what James was talking about, because it isn't free. And, you know, all these places where the states have lost their freedom to speak. I think, James, you're doing a lot of that, like showing how these governors are going, my speech here, I don't want you to come in here.
Yeah.
And
let's read this.
I have state, you know.
Yeah, let's read what you share so the podcasters can.
There we go.
Okay. They in October 1st, 2025, Canada introduced Combating Hate Act, which amends the criminal code to enhance penalties for hate crimes and streamline the process for charging hate speech, potentially impacting free speech protections. This legislation aims to address rising hate crimes, but raises concern about the balance between protecting communities and preserving the freedom of expression. So essentially, when I looked into it a little more, it was like, if you get caught doing something that they think is hate, which like a comedian would do, right?
Yeah.
Then they'll come and take you out of society. Seriously, your bank is frozen and your phone. They did that to the truckers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the trucker. I think it was PayPal, right? I think it was PayPal that caved on that.
And then they took Stripe down. They took Stripe down too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Right. So all of this is like rinse, wash, repeat. You know?
Yeah. The censorship isn't necessarily a government invention.
Right.
It's a societal invention, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's the animals playing their game.
Yeah, and like when you showed that woman on the video, and she was like, "There's one in there. There's one." So do you remember in Nazi Germany when they were like, well, they came for the so-and-so and then nobody spoke up.
Yeah.
And then they came for so-and-so and no one spoke up. We're getting really close, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also probably something hopefully more profound, which is that that speech itself just has more power. Words have more power. And the white sun recognizes that. And we can't play sticks and stones may break my bones anymore. We can't do that. And we're learning that slowly. Only now is corporal punishment not considered okay for physical punishment. For children. Like when I grew up, it was like a stitching time or whatever the sayings were. Right? It's like when I beat you with a belt because I love you. And then that became the new not cool. And now you're considered a cruel parent if you don't do that. But there's literally zero rules for mentally fucking with your child. Like there's none. There's absolute. It's almost like by saying, because I'm not physically hurting you, I have permission to mentally just fuck your head so bad that you'll be ruined for life. And that's normalized in our society. So you could look at violence itself as a kind of heat map of growth. In other words, if you could outline where a plant has grown the most, they say that a tree, the bottom of the bark doesn't actually, go up the tree. It simply just expands. And if you look at the heat map of like the animals of this wonderful place, you would notice that heat map isn't necessarily focused on violence. It's just that violence is always going to be the same experience as growth. That those two things would look the same because of the alchemical just gunpowder that's going off around there. So historically at Kent State, or any other event that's taken place in any shooting, not even necessarily shooting, but just any event like that, the reason why death is there is not because it was a violent event. The violence is there because it was such a charged moment of change. The mythology changed so deeply that people died as a result of it. And that those two things would have to go hand in hand. It's sort of like the argument I make about the reason why cannabis is illegal is because it has power. And society needs to somehow broadcast that this has power. So even though it's legalized, it just means it sort of has less power, but also it's more like admitted too. So we admit it more, we accept it more, but we accept it underneath a very stringent speech protocol, a removal of behavior, right, that's wrapped around it. So all of the tension is there, all of the heat is there. And when you see things like what's happening, what could be happening right now, because Washington is full of liars. I have no fucking idea. But what could be happening right now is that you're about to see a seal open. You're about to see another gate fall, and it's only going to fall because the white sun just disintegrates it. Epstein really does that, doesn't it? You're looking at the personal jauntings of someone in that position, and you're able to hear all the words they're saying. You're able to hear Liz Crokin right now, a Republican pundit, is probably screaming that we have to save Trump. And she spent her entire career saying that Epstein and Pizzagate are real. And that you start to learn that bring out your dead is a machine itself. ICE would not, it's almost like the masks are us sort of like, we don't necessarily ready to accept personal responsibility as someone who would participate in ICE. It's like we've normalized that. When I watched the videos of Chicago, I tried to cover this yesterday. Forgive me if some of you heard it, because I don't know what happened with the show, but this young man was walking down Chicago and he saw an ICE raid taken down. So he pulled out his phone, he's recording it, and he lives there, or according to him. He lives there. It sounds like he lives there. And he's full of confidence. He's full of arrogance and righteousness that how dare you fucking do this? And he's walking up to the ICE people, and he's got his phone, he's recording it, and he feels like he has a safe distance. But then an animal corners him, because right behind him, an ICE agent walks up. And the ICE agent is fully gassed out, mask and Kevlar, G.I. Joe frame, something Pete Hegseth would be very proud of. And he walks up and says, "Can I help you?" And the minute that the voice comes out of that frame, the arrogance, the righteousness of the local collapsed. And he kept trying to hold power. He kept trying to say, this is okay, or the cop ends up asking him for ID. A masked bandit in Kevlar comes into a Chicago animals territory, his local territory, and start asking him for ID. And the kid caves. He caves because his mind is veal. He caves because he doesn't have access to violence, which means that violence becomes a monopoly, doesn't it? And you start to realize how powerful violence is in the world only when it's monopolized. That if there was not a monopoly on violence, this would be a very different turtle. The shell of this place would be very, very, very different. I'm not saying this is the answer. I'm not saying that this is the way, but I'm saying that until we find a way to have more fascism, here's what's weird. That kid should have been more fascistic because that was his neighborhood. He should have pulled the power crystals from the ground and been like, dude, this is my fucking block. I'm going to have to walk down this street, right, every day for the rest of my life. And I have to be reminded that I was a bitch. I'm just saying, this is what goes through my mind. I think other animals too. That you have this sense of, I'm going to lose this territory. That there's something more important than my life up for grabs. It's my dignity. It's my entire being. And that kind of PTSD is not recovered because that's what's called civilized. We actually will try and tell that guy, well, what could you do? What could you do? And
so James, I got to bring this up because it really ties in. I mean, can you imagine just this week, we had all the generals in the whole United States showing up, and they work for the Constitution, right? But they're showing up to whatever this show is, whatever that speech was
Yep.
cray. And that level of veal inside the military. Now we're going to have a showdown if they're going to step up and really know what they stand for. Like you said, maybe it would be only the retired people that would be able to have the balls to step up. But this could be the time that they go back and go, I don't know what just happened, but this is cray,
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it will be some kind of I don't know, constitutional whatever. But having all those generals come into Virginia, I mean, that's bizarre.
Yeah. Now you got me wondering if that meeting was something else entirely. I'm so paranoid because I have to be. I'm a paranoid shaman. What do you want me to say? It's like we have to sit in a cave and render what's happening, which is why it's not necessarily even healthy to spend so much time even trying to render it, because I'm not nearly as competitive at this sport as they are. I'm not nearly as fascistic as what it would take to defend myself from this place unless there's a collective movement, which is part of why I'm so excited today.
Yeah, because I don't think anything's broken. I think happened exactly at the right time.
Totally.
For this right sun, this cosmic alignments. I'm like, it's huge.
Yep.
Well, the 25th Amendment and Agenda 2025, it's nice how those two 25 synced up. And even the 14th coming up, James, like you've discussed, like you discussed, Pluto's going to go direct into Aquarius.
Yeah.
The day before.
Yeah, let's catch people up. The World Economic Forum published a cover that a lot of us have been fascinated by, and one of the cards on that was a 10 comets and 14 stars, I think was the right. It could be 10 stars and 14 comets, but it's a tarot card, and there's children inside those stars. And I know that it's easy to, last year I thought something really big was going to happen on, I'm glad to be wrong. This is why I don't want to be made a fool, but there was a big comet coming in town, And I thought that maybe 1014 was going to be an epic day for something big to release in that sense. And so, I'm crying wolf because I'm telling you now that it would be interesting because all the Epstein stuff is basically pedophilia. And you've got all these stars. What is a comet? It's a fallen star in a way. So you have all these icons that are at the top that are falling. And we're watching that take place. And it's because that card is on there that I don't necessarily trust this. I'm not necessarily on board with like, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to be a whole new Lemuria. Like, I'm not there yet. I don't think I'll ever be there. I've just seen too much hyena in my day to understand how resourceful these animals are at picking up the carcass. I remind you all that during the last election, Trump was saying we have to release the Epstein files. Like, it shows you that's a professional. Right? Like, that's a professional when you're leading with that stuff, when you're the one doing that. And you're watching that because he's precisely able to do that so well. His downfall is so easy to enjoy because it's just so clear. It's just so crystal clear. But I do not have any confidence that there's going to be someone else behind him that's inherently better. I think it'll feel better. And I think that's what fools us most. That's why this happens, is the same thing with two steps forward. If you watch what's happening with the protesters, typically the ICE agents that are defending will watch a crowd and then they will wait and then they will take the one that they think is the easiest to take down, who has the most benefit. So the loudest, the guy in the inflatable frog costume in Portland, right? That's a strategic takedown. They're like, out of all the people here, the guy in the frog costume is taking our prana the most, says the guy. And so what do? They pick one. They pick one and they pull them out of the herd and then they step back and they wait. And that tactic of pulling one out of the crowd, stepping back and waiting is a kind of relaxation to a low conscious herd, isn't it? Because the predator is stopped. So technically the predator is doing what you want, which makes you, I think, fall for the prison fallacy where you want to perpetuate that. So you allow them because they continue to not do something. So your agreement to not do something is only given by their agreement to not do something until they decide they're ready to do it again. And what happens? They do it again. But they wait.
It's like Duck Goose.
Yeah, they wait 15 minutes. They wait for the reptile inside of all of us to lower its guard, and then they do it again. And this is, in a way, they're training all the animals to have a longer form of consciousness, to have a longer phonological loop, to be more like me, where I'm still just paranoid as fuck. Like, I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm not sold. Maybe paranoid isn't even the word. I'm not convinced that this is like, welcome to Lemuria, is what I'm trying to say. I don't think that's what's going to happen. However, I do think that a lot of local animals are leveling up right now because the white sun's making it impossible not to do that. One of those is comedians. And it's interesting that the Saudi Arabia thing just went down. To catch you guys up, there's a bunch of comics went over to do a Saudi Arabia comedy festival. And a lot of people feel that this is kind of hypocritical because of the, slavery and human trafficking and stuff like that. And so even the comics themselves are up for grabs. Joe Rogan's taken a big fall lately. I think he's no longer number one anymore, too. But more importantly, people are starting to finally ridicule him. For the very first time, people are starting to poke through and ridicule him. And if you even look at what happened with Texas, in a lot of ways, I think Joe Rogan brought down Texas. Like, psychically, he brought that place down, which is why they're curtailing to Trump right now and sending the National Guard to Chicago. This is Texas. And if you look at the Texas governor, this guy's a really limp hot dog. He is not what you would expect out of Texas. It's a very different vibe, is what I'm saying.
That's interesting about Saudi Arabia because aren't they building the line there as we speak, the smart city?
Yeah, they're trying.
So it's like they're trying to roll out the red carpet for it, no?
Yeah, I think that one of the beautiful things about Saudi Arabia is they give us an objective ability to see how fraud works. That when you look at all these mega projects, and the line is clearly clearly probably one of those. You don't really know if it's ever going to be built. Even though there's construction happening, you're really just looking at a bunch of belief bubbles, a bunch of people that are saying, here's our religion. We're going to build this. And then at the very end, you notice, well, there's no sewer pipes in Dubai. And you've got like miles and miles of like sewage trucks that are just emptying skyscrapers. And they're doing that every day. They're doing that every day because no one thought to dig a pipe. No one considered that if I invest in this thing, that these guys aren't going to actually put in sewage or a water line. So it's you're looking at the Wild West of oil money, and I think it's educating us more than we think. Musk is probably a lightweight when it comes to this kind of liar on the Saudi stage. Like in that desert, it's a much more animistic place, probably more akin to America in early 18th century, right? Early 19th or 18th century, where we were just all over the place with our ideas about Jesus, about Israel, about Egypt itself. All these things were now here in Ohio or in the Grand Canyon, and that Joseph Smith even, we invented our own religions out of that, our own industries out of that, our own governments out of that. So you're watching people be terrified of belief and wanting to remove belief or petrify it as fast as they can. And this is really what caramelizes civilization. It's not really advancement. It's more of, can we stop pretending? Or I should maybe clarify, can we please pretend more predictably? I would argue this is ultimately what we want. It's just for everyone to pretend more predictably. Because if I can predict you guys, I can relax more, digest food, pay taxes, things like that.
A basic thing happened. 9/11, right? It was basic. All those basic. All those little passports fall from the sky, and they say Saudi Arabia, but that never got investigated.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah.
Right. So, my dad worked for the Shah, and did the F-14s, and he said it was very interesting when you're in Iran. It was such a high evolved civilization. It had Rumi and everything, but trying to teach a person like that to fly an F-14, it was crazy. They would just, eject.
Wow.
And then the $1 billion plane goes into the desert.
Wow.
And it was like, so yeah, you're right about certain aspects. You don't know what it is like culturally, and what the desert has as far as cosmology is a whole different thing. But, we've got, I think now we have Egypt coming in with bulldozers into Gaza. Mm-hmm. That just, I saw something on that. I don't know what's going on with that, but this rising up of something in the desert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If America was really America, we would have invaded Israel and liberated them from the Zionists. Yep. And then we would have liberated Palestine, and then we would have set up an American base there and just called it us. But we're not actually in the business of liberating. We're actually in the business of making excuses for what it is we need to do to survive, which is perform war. It's really our only export is war. It's really the only product we have. And I think as long as the people want to get jobs there, as long as the Defense Department is the nation's largest employer, that's going to be the case. And this is why I have less patience for there are 20 people controlling you. I have more patience for the world's largest employer is controlling you. Those employees are controlling you. The same people that sign up for ICE are controlling you. The same people that vote are controlling you. That's if you were looking for a controller that's controlling you, it seems like it's probably going to be them. It's going to be that group. Like if you need that excuse, it's going to come from that. And that's why ICE, technically we have more self-worth, and the average self-worth is $50,000 and anonymity. And the biggest bummer about that is that those guys are saying I'm in debt, But as soon as they sign the contract, they're in debt because they've been promised that if you survive this job and we don't fire you in a year, you're going to get a 50,000. I mean, that's probably how it works.
Oh.
Right. So them saying they're in debt encourages them to get into debt again. Do you see what I mean? Like, how could you leave that job morally if you know that you would lose the entire reason why you got there, but you could only get there if you stay an entire year and shit in a diaper in Chicago and do what you're doing and go home at night and sleep.
So then how do you, if you're a forever being, how do you deal with that morality of
I think
contracting that debt on your soul?
It's such a great question, because ultimately I think these things end up being instruments of deep dive redemption, that we actually come here to perform worse and worse immorality on each other simply to see if we can come back up again. That it's a kind of deep dive that a whale would do that says, can I find redemption at 50,000 feet? Well, you're going to have to fuck a kid. Like, if you want to go that low to find redemption, you're going to have to be a pedophile. You're going to have to murder people. You're going to have to be a fascist. You're going to have to do whatever it is.
You got a prostitute for $50,000.
Yeah.
An ICE agent with a mask on.
It's a tiny sort of appetite, isn't it, for morality? It's a tiny opportunity. Hey, do you want to take a chance on the morality jungle gym? And that the little animals are like, hey, there's $50,000. This sounds like a good ride. They think that they can recover from that. What if it works this way? What if it works that way where you know your own lungs, and when you come here, you pull that in and you see how far you can actually make it. And that redemption itself is a kind of limbic juice that's very difficult to find. It's one of the most difficult resources to find in this world is redemption. Because it's a chemical, isn't it? It's a limbic chemical that's mined in the brain, but requires an entire society full of peer pressure and patriotism and heroism in order to mine it. And you would have to step right up to the threshold of the Priapus of this certain thing that might do this and either become the hero or the villain, and have everyone place their eyes on you, and that would caramelize or ferment or crystallize or materialize into the finest nuggets you could ever call dank, right? So
you're either hunted or being hunted.
All of these things are jungle gyms. All the things that we're doing to each other, the laws we're passing, the laws that we're ignoring. We set up certain things that's like, never ever shoot a kid if they're in this building. Like, we set that up. We're like, hey guys, we're going to be really upset if you come in here and shoot people in this zone. We're going to be more upset than if you did it anywhere else. And that is an invitation. That is can someone please come try and knock down our tower, because we're playing King of the Hill over here and it's boring as shit. All of us are on the same side. We're not getting better. We're not learning how to make this thing better. Can you please come over and fight us? And so you end up exercising the signal that it takes to bring that resource to you, and that you would be considered a hero because you're the fucker that took your platoon boat, your P boat, and drove it into the Gulf of Vietnam close enough while you shot your machine gun in the air, because you knew if you could just get one guy to throw a rock, just one guy to shoot a gun, that you could start an entire war. And that you being that person is just like a Native American. You know this idea of first touch, right? Like, the Native Americans, when they're at war, I'm not trying to say this is like all of them, but a really popular motif is, I got to touch the enemy first. I'm going to run across the field, risk my life because I want the honor of touching the enemy first. Like that becomes the sanctity of that person's life. The same way the soldier goes, I put the bullet inside of Osama bin Laden's head. I'm the one who did it. Or I'm the dude that dumped him out of the helicopter. And we spit tobacco at him. That was me. This is the same ceremony, right? You had something?
Yes, I wanted to ask you, what does it mean to you to be a patriot today in 2025?
That's such a great question. I think ultimately it's a church, but you guys know how I feel about belief. I like belief. This is not a flaw. I think ultimately you fall in love with animals and that you really like what certain kinds of animals do. You feel so much power from them. So I guess in a way it's sort of like a pranic battery, and that there's a collective communal basket where certain people put acorns in. And if you tap into a group, you have access to those acorns. But you can only find that if everyone believes you, if everyone accepts you as one of their own. So I think mostly it's a clan, right? Mostly it's a tribe. It's a belief tribe. And I don't know if there's anything else but belief tribes. I don't know if there's really is anything else but that truly everything works on that. And it would even explain why a bicameral house would have to automatically reveal itself. What I mean is that if people are really just tapping into the collective power, it would make sense that the collective power would simply grow. In other words, it would conglomerate, sort of like water, that all the separate bubbles would become one bubble. And that the reason why you would never have one is because then you lose the ability to create cohesiveness in your group because you need the other group. So it's probably the most optimal form of herdism, of animalism, of post-religious, but still spiritual, natural spiritual kind of politic that's really more akin to a biological function of a herd, a sociological phenomenon. What do you guys think?
It's interesting about patriotism. Like, that has like a trigger to me.
Whenever I think of the word patriot, the Mel Gibson like pops into my brain. Like that's the picture that I get.
Yeah.
It's that movie. So it's just and seeing it evolve where an ICE agent is like the Aquarian patriot now. It just like you said, the white sun, it makes it more and more phony to be a patriot. You know, I work right next to a VA hospital. So imagine all these stoners that fought for our country, quote unquote, and they get very upset if you don't give them their vet discount. And on top of that, they kind of sit there and wait and look at you, or if you're gonna thank them for your service.
Yeah.
And I just thank them for shopping here, and I wish them a good day because I don't thank you for doing what you do. Most people my age that enlist, they do it for free college. They do it again for that $50,000 for the bonus.
Yep.
They don't do it for some, like righteousness that they need to fight for our country. That's just a bullshit excuse that they parade around for, like you said, for like Mardi Gras beads to get thrown at them in that moment, in that space.
Yeah.
So it's just very interesting because my background is Cuba, and seeing the same, like my grandmother has told me stories. She remembers the revolution. Like she tells me the things that are happening now kind of trigger her and make her remember like how people used to take sides before, the Cuban Revolution. So it's very interesting what's unraveling right now and on the turtle's back.
Yeah. I don't know if you could survive without, you wouldn't have to call it patriotism, but if you were in Star Trek and you were doing another episode, you would just call it Zebulism, right? Like you would just, it's the same thing. It's just that it's in a different costume. And so the Civitan clubs, the clans, the Kiwanis clubs, the Fez hats, the National Guard, the fire's a big one. The fire department's a big one. It's a pretty old order. And that order really wasn't necessarily even built on we're here to stop houses from, we're here to save your house. It was more about, no, we're here to save my house. Like, I don't want my house to catch on fire, so I have to invent a fire department because you're not responsible.
Pretty sure that was Benjamin Franklin
What?
that invented the fire department.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, if I've read that correctly.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. The guy's clever, you know.
Guy made a lot of sense.
He was he's one of those figures where he really does show you how the further away you get into the background of your video game, the more real people become mythology. It's like, you know, he's getting further away and he's becoming more mythology. Same with all of our founding fathers. It's kind of cool that way. I like that feature.
I feel that this is patriotism. I think patriotism is to truly see and not just follow.
Yeah, witness.
It's doing hard things.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
I think
standing up for morality when you don't join a church to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that movie, I think you probably remember that movie because it was really good in that way. I thought that it really captured the romanticism of that version of patriotism. And that version of patriotism really is tribalism. And we live in a world that loves patriotism but hates the word tribalism. Like that's not nearly as cool of a word, but it should be. Because ultimately tribalism is, here's our craft beer. Like here's our kind of bluegrass we play. Here's our barbecue. This is all tribalism. This is all patriotic tribalism too. And ultimately it's been the biggest threat to federal government, which is why I have what's considered a backwards view about the South. But I don't know how anyone can compassionate the history of this country and not see what I see. I don't even have to make stuff up. There's hundreds of documented proofs of this stuff, of how different the patriotism was. Technically, the South was patriotic to Turtle Island. Technically, the South was, look, there's already government here. It works. It's actually kind of fucking cool. In fact, I'm Chief White Bear. Like that's probably what happened. And so the patriotism is going to be a fashion and a fad, but ultimately what's going to bring people is the resources that it has. So the money that's involved, the signing bonuses, the promises of a horse, you're able to install patriotism, but you install it the same way other people do. The only thing different really is that Moses Cone, for example, a famous Freemason here in my area, the only difference is he could pollinate people more than anyone else. And that's only because Moses Cone decided, I'm going to start an apple orchard. Then he started an apple orchard. Then he started making cider. Then he started making fermented cider. And then he became a mecca. And he didn't do that because he's an evil fuck. He did that because he was connected to the land. He was one of the first that saw how valuable this land is. And even now, Moses Cone State Park is just beautiful. His grave is the only person buried there. It's like he is that land. He was that patriotic. You know, I don't know if patriotic is even the word because I don't even know the etymology of that. It'd be interesting to look up. I've never looked into it. So inherently as a definition, I don't know if it works or not, but I definitely believe in the concept of tribalism. Not even necessarily because I think it's the best system. I think there's just no choice. I don't think that we're ever going to have a non-tribalistic society, but more importantly, I don't know if I could really hang with someone that wasn't embracing tribalism in some way. I don't know how I would ever be able to build a relationship with them. I tend to look for people that have a superficial tribalism, and then I leave that group to to find what do you guys believe? I don't fucking care. You want to talk about Kundalini? You want to talk about yoga? You want to talk about aliens? All I care for is what is this prana underneath all this, right? Like what is it? What does it actually taste like in that way? And so I don't even know how important the tenets of what people are fighting for. Like, I don't have the same thoughts I have about the Bill of Rights as I used to. I think the fact they're called amendments is a huge clue. That means a majority can come and amend those anytime it wants. And that's not a right. That's a privilege. That's a privilege that's been given to you in exchange for you believing in a czar of public safety, and that czar of public safety can at any point in time remove those rights. Even Christy Nome said that the writ of habeas corpus was the ability for a president to take your rights away. So the Bill of Rights are functionally meaningless. As I brought up before, when you're elected to Congress, a van doesn't come pick you up. It doesn't take you away, put you in a jogging suit. It doesn't shave your head. It doesn't bang trash cans at 3 a.m. and make you get up and PT. It doesn't make you run. It doesn't make you scrub toilets. It doesn't make you eat breakfast in 5 minutes. It doesn't make you recite the Articles of Confederation. It doesn't make you understand the Magna Carta. It does zero to educate anyone who's elected in what the Bill of Rights even means. It's the only industry that I know that does not require credentials. That you can, if you want to cut hair, you're going to need to train. If you're going to serve food, you're going to need to train. If you're going to drive a forklift, if you're going to lift a box, if you're going to work in a factory, if you're going to serve beer, if you're going to be a cop, if you're going to be a soldier, every one of these jobs requires that you remove yourself a little bit from who you used to be, whether it be going to college or getting a degree or getting a certification, that someone's asking you to prove that you are willing to make a sacrifice, that you are patriotic to the principle of being an elected official. So I do know why, but ultimately I think that's our fault. That we would even elect officials, give them 45% of our resources, require no obligations from them at all, allow them to come and go out of office as they please, and just simply praise them the entire time. Praise them even by hating them. Praise them by saying the same way you would praise the bad guy in wrestling. It's that kind of praise. And so we're all calling each other unhinged as if that's different. As if that somehow finally shows everyone when it does the opposite. It literally makes it all okay. Because he's unhinged, that's why. Which means this is all normal.
Well, maybe, James, like the reptilian overlords,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're just showing the reptilian aspects of this human genome coming online,
Yeah.
So unhinged is a very reptilian kind of thought, like everyone's unhinged. They've lost their humanity.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and even as terrified as we are of that reptilian, if anyone's new to the show, you have a reptile inside of you. Your brainstem is its own consciousness. It has its own ability, its own neurons, so its own memories, its own conceptualizations. It even has all the neuromelanin, which means it's the thing that decides if it wants to lie to you. It's at the heart of the power of it's able to lie to you. So we've developed the archetype of this must be a reptilian and there must be controlling the world, and they are controlling the world. It's literally exactly what everyone is saying, except for I'm just taking it more personally. I'm just moving that reptile more personally where it goes.
And we all have that like reptile in us. So at any given moment, you can be run by that. And, if your frontal, all your other parts of your brain go down, your systems stay running to keep it alive, right? Because the body will do everything to stay alive.
Yep.
And so the organism is doing everything it can to stay alive. And you're watching reptilian capacities coming more and more online.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, of course you're going to have a reaction, but these reactions they want you to have, it's like what you can really see running and all of the stuff. It's like fear, 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 fear.
Yep.
And it's like, that is, how that's been run. But because it's such good news, if everyone all of that alien stuff, it's like the aliens in you,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's being revealed.
Yeah.
and that white sun is really kind of revealing that reptilian unhinged.
Well, just, I remind everybody that just a few months ago, we had a Senate committee hearing where two members of the Air Force testified to unidentified, now they're calling UAPs, I guess, but unidentified and aerial phenomena. Then you've got this clearly just so obviously just a radar signature, but no one's labeling it as a radar signature of a target that's moving, and they're claiming it's moving too fast, but there's no relative speed. So you no one would know if it's moving too fast. That mathematically, that's not how math works, that you would need some sort of constant to understand. It's like the laws of relativity mean we don't know if it's moving fast, but no one cares. You're looking at a heat signature, something that anyone in the armed forces who's even like looked through any kind of, by the way, this isn't just like heat sensitive radar. There's a lot of firefighting equipment that's in the military that allows you to see through smoke too. And it's a thermal kind of vision. It's nothing new, but yet even though a lie that big is being distributed, the military's trained, they just don't say shit. They're not allowed to mess around. They're not allowed to fuck around. They don't want to get in trouble. And what sucks is that they've been hooked on this idea that if you can survive here and follow orders for 15 or 20 years, that for the rest of your life, no matter what happens, however long you live, we will give you X amount of dollars. That's extortion.
Yep.
That's all that is extortion. But what makes it worse is you don't actually get that until you retire. You're in debt to this promise, the same way the ICE agents are in debt to the 50 grand they're going to get. And it's not just 50 grand, by the way. They're getting 60 grand in one of the only loans that cannot be forgiven. The ICE, it's no problem, man. We will forgive your student loans. So it's a $60,000 student loan forgiveness, $50,000 signing bonus, and then another just 50 or whatever it is you're going to end up getting just for showing up to work. This is a bondage.
It's a soul debt.
Yeah, and it's, I don't know if these people would hear this correctly. I don't know if these people would be able to thrive in society if they did not have someone offering them soul bondage. What do you think of that?
Whoa.
Because
that's truth there.
I think that this is harder for people to understand, but it's totally true that we do not understand how crucial slavery is. It's one of the reasons why we have such a fetish around it. And the armed forces are just basically serfs, that they're attached to the military hardware itself, the same way serfs would be. If you can't buy this plot of land unless you're going to take on the serfs, which means, look, they're serfs. They're kind of high maintenance. It's not going to lie. High maintenance guys.
You have a point. Imagine 4 masked individuals in adult diapers, quite literally sitting in their own shit.
Yeah.
Hours at a time. Like, the camaraderie needs to welcome the room.
Yeah.
It's part of the magic.
Yeah, really well said. It's
and all of the merging of whatever this is, there's a giant merge. Like, the government is now going to buy the defense companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or underneath, I think they already did. So there really isn't any private. It's all.
Yeah.
It's all, because I just have a lot of information on how that kind of works. I don't know if I was kind of born into it, and then I have a daughter that has a connection into it. I understand how the contracts work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really interesting to see this kind of be played out in all different types of indentured servants.
Yeah.
From the military to the industrial military complex. It's the same thing. Yeah.
This is the hard part of understanding what compassion really is, because I'll use Moses Cone again. If you're a Moses Cone figure and you're surrounded by, I'm going to just call them vagrants in the forest that do weird shit.
Stealing apples.
Yeah, not just stealing apples, but maybe after a while it starts to get elevated and you don't even feel safe. Like you're nervous a lot, and you decide, just like you might want to shoot a coyote, not that I'm for that, but you would start to shoot the animals that are violating your property or what you consider your property. You are now associated into the land, and you're surrounded by a land that needs pruning, and you've already pruned the land. You've already built an apple orchard, so why would you not prune the animals too? And I think it's very difficult for us to understand that each of us are animals. I really think this is the hard thing. I think that you and I have been brought up in a culture where we've purposely been taught that we're not animals. And it's actually been one of the bigger hindrances for us when it comes to dealing with an elite psychology. Because an elite psychology would see us as animals. An elite psychology would understand they're animals, I'm animal. I'm going to be better. Their psychology would simply just see the jungle more raw and would give them that Canaan vision, right? That that vision of, hey, if I fucking rock this feller, I'm going to take this rock and, hit Abel right over the head with it. And you've invented the Rockefellers. Like you instantly have exactly what's necessary in the puzzle to spur growth. You have a leader. I'm talking about the shoot, like the plant leader. You have the leader, then you have the offspring, the shoots off of it. And that the sinister will typically be less righteous. And that we'll have different times and periods where the sinister is the one that's hurting the plant, or the leader is the one that's hurting the plant, or the sinister one is hurting the plant, or the leader. And that the plant itself has to decide, do I need this root? Is this leader necessary? What are the effects of removing this leader? Look at all the other roots that are going to die and suffer as a result. And I just think, honestly, in addition to all the pedophiles, in addition to all the evilness of the world, and I get so much shit for saying this, in addition to all this, I can see a place of a stewardship where someone would just have a lot more consciousness than everyone else and would be able to out-simulate everyone else, and that they would be quite natural, that they would treat the animals the same way they would treat their orchard. Which is that these animals don't necessarily threaten my personal space after I've learned to contain them. And that the moment they were contained, you would cease to be fascinated or interested in fooling them or practicing mind games on them. You're a higher conscious. You just have better things to do. You have natural, this is really kind of like an aquarium. It's sort of like the sheep in the yard, and you're not really able to focus on their psychology, because even if you did, you would just become one of them. And ultimately, I think we struggle with that, even though we live in a society or a jungle that has these different stages where certain animals rely on me. For example, here where I live, that there's a kingdom that's placed in the system. And we're too busy insisting there's no kings because all of us are blah, 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 or blah, blah, blah. But really the more natural situation is it may not be the word violence, but we need tension in our diet that we're not allowed to have because it scares people. We need the ability to have more autonomy over our own mortality. I think this is a big, big one. That if we could embrace the idea that we're allowed to kill ourselves, that I don't just mean suicide. I'm talking about we're allowed to, I want to fight this guy to the death, or I'm going to have a duel, or I'm going to set myself on fire. That all of these things are I know they're terrifying, but that's the jungle. And that all of us get to do that. And as long as we're not able to do that, we're going to be practicing fascism underneath the pretend fascism that we're insisting is stopping us, but never really getting to the heart of what are we missing here? And what we're missing, I think, is autonomy. What we're missing is this lack of objectivity to embrace the idea that this guy has his own universe. There's not a fucking thing I can do about it. And I have my own universe. And there's a lot I can fucking do about that.
So I have this quote. I know it's from the Gospel of Thomas, because I think we're in this new place of rendering, manifesting. Mm-hmm. And so what we're seeing getting played out is how people's, their frozen, whatever you call that, James, that petrified belief, you know? And so this says, from Thomas's, recognize what is in your sight, and that which is hidden from you will become plain to you, and there is nothing hidden which will not become manifest. So it's kind of like this time of like maybe even like the animal kingdom, maybe the orca consciousness is closest we get to understanding what's really going on, that we
Yeah.
don't really speak whale yet,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but what we're rendering and what we want to be manifesting in this tribal thing is like you're seeing everything being played out, but there's this place where we're going to be becoming a new kind of human
Yeah. I would
from
even, yeah,
from the garden, from the garden.
I love it. I think because the bandwidth is so deep, Lori, because the signal has so much bass and so much treble,
Yeah.
that each of us even has to pick a tiny portion of it and sample that for the rest of us. And that ultimately we will conglomerate, which means the ones that are out there in ice masks wearing diapers are actually representing a proper natural form of diet, but that they've had to live inside this certain spectrum because most people cannot digest that. The same way they cannot digest compassion or sanctity, right? But
Yeah.
they can embrace violence and restitution or retribution, or revenge or defense or power. Those are very easily digestible to them because they've been trained over time to specialize in seeking those kinds of things. So yes, the
Like
more we
crabs eating their
conglomerate,
crabs eating their babies to stay alive, It's like the crabs eating their babies.
well, sure, all of us would be doing that because
yeah.
Until we can conglomerate all this energy, which I do think probably does include more violence and mortality. Guys, this isn't even like that odd because I'm just saying that the violence we're already practicing, why don't we just look at it differently, right? I'm not actually saying we need more violence. I'm saying that, look, the violence we have, let's just alchemically treat it properly.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at it for the very first time of this is a resource that we make. In fact, America would be the biggest hypocrite to insist that violence wouldn't be the case. And until we are, until we are going to Cambodia going, look, we're going to invade you guys for 2 weeks. I'm sorry, but we're going to invade you for 2 weeks because we're going to get rid of the landmines because we just can't sleep at night. We're actually going to invade you to remove them. And then we're going to leave because we just want to sleep at night. We're not doing that. There's not one person doing that. Pete Hegseth is not, he's never, ever going to do that. And these people that are telling you that this is a Christian movement is why I've been speaking up lately. It just burns too much for me to be in the same room with it and not have to stare it in the face or follow it around and honk my horn and make everyone else see it too, because it activates me that much. And I want to be a white blood cell of Turtle Island.
That's a true Christian.
Yeah, that's what you would think, right? Because, and it's all selfish. Guess what? All these feelings I'm telling you, this isn't about reward from others. I literally just want to sleep at night. Like I think it'd be cool. I really enjoy sleep. It's kind of fun. And if I behave shitty, I don't sleep as well. And if I was a bitch in a part of the playground that I'm going to have to go out and play in because I was paying attention when I was a kid, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to constantly find where I'm cowardly and improve. I want to constantly find where I'm too arrogant, although I don't even know what that word means anymore because all I see is just an excuse for each of us to lower our confidence. And the more that we the more we normalize the lowering our confidence, the harder it is when some dude jacked up like a pit bull shows up in a mask and starts asking you for an ID. You've never encountered this before.
So you think that like the Hyoka would show up as, like this orca consciousness and just calmly say, could you show your face? That's just like show your face.
Yeah.
What's the shame in showing your face?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
You're vulnerable.
Well, you show what you stand for, right?
One of the beautiful things about the internet, it gave us a chance to be anonymous in a wide scale. Mm-hmm. And just like atheism allows you to exercise behavior because you think you're not being seen, so too does the anonymity that the internet gave us for a little bit give us the opportunity to know how people really feel. The way we treat immigrants would be one of those, but not just immigrants, the way we politicize, the transgender stuff, the
way that we treat difference.
So the anonymity gives us the ability to be ourselves. And I think that is a really big power. It's almost like we should almost encourage that. This is why I'm like, I really like it when I find out someone's a racist, because I just see them now. It's just easier. That's all. And I don't even have a fight with them. They're literally the most, like, the person's going to do me the least amount of harm. I realize I'm white, so that's probably easier to say, but it's like when you see someone that feeble, in other words, their consciousness is that feeble, it's really hard to consider them a threat because you're just able to outpredict them. You just know that if anything happens, they're going to go for this certain kind of energy that's going to have this real low key. It's just easy to predict is what I'm trying to say. So ultimately, if we could just keep being ourselves, if we could like stop shaming people for eating McDonald's, why don't we just let people be exactly themselves and just watch? Because if you can watch, I think you'll have even more compassion for them because you just understand exactly where they're at. And the problem with that is that a lot of people who've been brought up purposely under the serfdom cannot afford to live that way. They're like, wait, you can't cut me off. No, I need a master. You can't trust me with sugar. I'm going to lose my feet. All I'm going to do is drink all that. I'm going to lose my feet to diabetes. I can't do that. I need someone who's going to call me fat. I need a society that's going to shame me. I need a group of people to block me from even feeling good about myself because I can't do that on my own. And so ultimately there's a deep shame because of the way we treat slavery. There's a deep shame in our leveling up. We're literally ashamed of all the leveling up we've done, which means we're instantly want to stop anyone else from leveling up through the same means. That the apprenticeship program that gave birth to America was just indentured servitude, and indentured servitude is just slavery. It's just slavery with a 7-year contract. That's really the only difference. That one says in 7 years we will renegotiate. The other just doesn't say that. But even those still happen where the owner dies, the people, it's all of it is still upwardly mobile until now. Now that we've gotten rid of all those things, they still crop up, but we're so insistent that they don't exist. So we don't even get to really pat ourselves on the back for how far we've come.
Right.
Right. And even watching Trump would give us that opportunity. If the 25th Amendment is actually invoked and Trump is removed from office for violating, what is that statute? There's a statute where if you invade your own country, it's a term. Forgive me for not knowing it, but it's a Latin term that if that would be, he would be brought up on that, deposed, removed from office. That would be a sign that the people have a higher self-esteem, that it's higher than it used to be. And I don't know how they'll treat it. I don't know what will end up happening. I'm not super optimistic, but I'm always pulling for us. I'm always pulling for us to do that. And whenever I see momentum, especially with the truckers, one of the things that got me down, it wasn't actually the truckers, it was actually the truth movement. Just watching what I felt was just like a lot of apathy, and I kind of feel that way now. I think some of my listeners have put me in my place, have been like I'm too invested in, say, Charlie Kirk, for example, and I think that's a fair assessment. I literally am invested in this because I just think Turtle Island is such a great place, and it's so cool when you can watch these things happen and actually notice, hey, this is important. Like Pepe the Frog is being pepper sprayed in an inflatable suit while Donald Trump is saying that Portland is completely on fire and that everyone is revolting, and that the leaders of Portland are terrified, that they're so afraid they're not able to even ask for help. this happening in our lifetime and watching this occur, this history will never know how blatant this was, right? The future will never know how blatant, how obvious this was, how just pathetic it was, how the hyena was just so there. It will be normalized. It'll be revered. It'll be put down in the annals of court cases where there's a last name versus a last name. And that's about all you'll remember. And we'll miss all the mind games that all of us were actively participating in for all this to come. For years and years and years, half of the voting population has said, I would love to see a day where people are rounded up on the street for not having papers. Like, can you believe that? That, like, a lot of people wanted that. And I know they did.
I know they did too.
I'm going to play you a clip. I know they did. This clip, I think, really says it. This is a drive-through window. Let me see here. It's going to give me a sec.
Information for her. I think I'm okay with not getting fries.
Oh, I got to get it over here. And then you guys may not be able to see this in the Zoom, but at least the audience will. This was a drive-in window 2 days ago. This is a drunk lady, God bless her, trying to get some, trying to get some food. And where'd it go? Okay, it's not letting me zoom.
She's trying to get some fat. That's what she's trying to do.
Yeah, I guess I have to share it this way.
Because it's okay. French fries.
You guys talk for a sec. Let me just get this working here.
Wow. It's just crazy because down here in Denver, they like evicted a whole apartment building filled with immigrants. Like it was pretty crazy. And I just go back to Miami, like none of this happens in Miami. Like, you know, Latinos protect each other. So it's just crazy how in the rest of the country, it just changes.
So interesting. I think the money thing of the promise of the money thing is a very interesting prana economy that you would eat your soul for a future 50. Oh, there it goes. James got it figured out.
I'm sorry. I was trying to get it, but it accidentally. Yeah, I think the money is a big one too. Please continue that point because.
Yeah, the prana economy of like, you know, that this woman is gonna, like, I've seen the videos. So she's got her money. See, she's got her security, and I don't want anyone else to rise up. You know,
Yeah.
I have this, and so now you want people to sign on as mercenaries in our own. Like this is like a sign-on bonus to be a mercenary. You know, and that isn't anything that's not been going on. I mean, most people don't know, but the military is kind of like doesn't have enough people, so they sign on guns for hire. You know,
I think I'm okay.
Go to all these different countries, and now we have guns for hire here in our country. You know.
Yeah. Let me play this for you guys now. This is a drive-through window. Let me make sure you guys can hear this.
For her. I think I'm okay with not getting fries. Okay. And my burger. And I think there's a lot of illegals in there, so I think if anything.
That's weird. It could be that the audience heard that, but for some reason I'm not hearing it. That's actually happened before.
Maybe because you're kind of zooming and.
Yeah, there's all kinds of crazy things here. And now I can't get it to stop. Let me see. There's stop. Yeah, this lady is in a drive-through window and she's basically saying there's a bunch of illegal immigrants in there and you guys need to go in there and take care of it. Her entitlement in the first world, right? She wants to exercise that entitlement of feeling special. And so it brings her joy to sacrifice the livelihood of people that we're bringing her food, by the way, that she freely went to that place to have them serve her. And it's decided because they were rude to her that they should be deported. So someone is rude to you and you want to deport them. Right.
We got the roofers and the people that do your yard. And there's all these people that do this really, really hard work. Oh, the cement people.
Yeah.
any cement work.
Sure. And in the party of religion, the party of Jesus,
Yeah.
is the ones that have the problem with this.
That's why the second coming's coming, and the true Christians are going to be standing up, but it's not in the churches.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the church of compassion, really, you know?
Yeah, it's great because it does show you we're not quite ready for that. It also it's just so hyena. That's why I love that word. It's just when I see behavior like that, like I'm gonna ruin your entire fucking life. I'm gonna rip you from your home because my fries were cold. That's a very unique kind of power to have. And to see people exercising that, it's difficult to say that's not wrong. But I want you to know why people are afraid of power. That lady's afraid of power because she knows what she would fucking do with it. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she knows that if she got cold fries, she would deport someone, and that she doesn't think, just like the whale that's going to see if it can come down and find redemption at 50,000 feet, she doesn't think she's going to be able to recover from that. And she needs these lessons of humility that are affordable. This lady's reacher, isn't she? Like she's reaching. She's probably having millions of people are probably going to look at this video and shame her. That's a superstar. That's a redemptive superstar. Do you understand? This is someone
that's the society of I want to lose so I can get calories.
Yeah, it's so it could be a self-defeating measure. It could be a form of psychic suicide. It also could be that she literally is a superstar of redemption. That she's pulling off a Perseus, a miracle. And that you are watching these miracles on YouTube precisely because they're miracles. That all of these attempts, it's the agony of defeat, isn't it? It's the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And that the fact that these people are competing for this prana is really, really special. It's an Olympics of compassion. And even you as spectator gets to exercise your own ability to, that lady is awful or that lady is reaching. Like you have so many opportunities to practice this yourself, which is why at the end of the day, the person that's always does the most damage to me always is my fucking self. Just my behavior, you know? And I lay in bed and I'm just like, why did you fucking do that to yourself? It's rare is it that I have the privilege of getting to blame someone else for ruining my day. Sometimes I get it and it's nice. It feels so righteous, right? Because I don't have to be delicate with myself. I can deport this person, and I have and will. So this is not a parable that's outside of our zone. This is something that we do every day. And I think it's important because I don't think self-worth would come any other way. You banish someone from your group, then you have to bear the responsibility of creating the sanctity the same way Moses Cone would protect his apple orchard. That you feel a certain sense of righteousness in fascism. This is why it's so weird that when you look at the rise in fascism today, I'm not so sold that the fascism is a problem. I think that the fascism is probably a good sign, and that government is teaching the people to have more fascism in their neighborhood, more fascism in their self. I remind you all that because of COVID, for the very first time, we heard people on the red side of the aisle screaming, "My body, my choice. My body, my choice." And this is a very different perspective for a lot of conservatives to have. That the party of life also believes in capital punishment. That the party of life actually believes in war, which is why the party of life is actually the party of death, the party of the witnessing of life and death. And I can get behind this party. I can get behind a party that wants the world to witness life and death and have more reverence for it. Like, could you see how that would sort of be a twisted form of patriotism? That someone in the room wants you to embrace the skull, something Mexico does so well that we don't, right? Where they're like, they have the Festival of the Dead, and it's one of the most beautiful things you'll ever see. And you're just like, how is this happening? What is up with you guys? And what is up with those guys is that they have this same kind of spirit. It's just cleaner. It just has less barnacles wrapped on it. It's less complexity wrapped around it, you know? So the appetites are the same. The Republican appetite is very good. Thalock being the other, the Democrat, right? This idea that if we do not honor the land will drown us all. This is really a kind of a beautiful idea that the Democrats are worshiping, isn't it? So you have the Democrats worshiping this idea that the land will take us out if we do not care for her. That's beautiful. And then you have this other idea that if we do not learn to be jaguars of the jungle, if we do not learn to have righteousness and fascism in our own jungle, that we will lose this race. That's beautiful too. And then you look back at this pyramid, this bicameral pyramid that has two houses, and both of those are so crucially important that we're sacrificing human lives to build that temple, to build that place. So it becomes much more, if you think about it, murder, fascism, violence, landmines, this is all nature. This is all nature composting itself and forcing the ones that want to stay alive to just be a stronger seed, you know?
Yep.
Just to like be a stronger person. And this is, nature believes in us more than we do. And it only shows because she's showing us orca consciousness. She's giving us all of the death, all of the life, all the radiation, all the weapons, all the politics, all the pedophilia, all the evilness that we see. She's giving it to us because she has more confidence in our ability than we do. And the end result of that is you end up with people worshiping the idea that nature must be evil. This is the ultimate salve. This is the ultimate form of denialism, and it's inflammation, isn't it? It's the same energy. The same energy that says the world is evil is the inflammation that my mother doesn't love me or my dad doesn't love me. They're just being mean.
I was thinking about matter, like if matter in the new quantum science is 1%, and matter is mother, it's the matter, it's the materia. And we've demonized the most special thing, and then it's so powerful to come out of this infancy of matter recognizing itself as not just garbage, not one side or the other. We don't have to conquer it and we don't have to protect it. It just is, and then all of that, collapsing waves and doing this new stuff and this new materium. I mean, really the minds of like these, not just the minds in Cambodia, but the minds that were out there in these manifestations, these humans manifesting their realities. We're in a really amazing, special time.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's like that time to wake up to know how special this time is, and special that each one of us are,
Yeah. It's this is a red pheasant.
Yeah.
There's a red pheasant on Turtle Island right now, and it looks like ice. It looks like Trump. It looks like Kristi Noem. It looks like Epstein. It looks like a lot of things.
Well, it's all the actors of Zelensky and all of that. I mean, that's all. What that whole thing is shifted too. I mean, and we're talked about current events, but there's so many current events concurring at the same time.
Yeah, the
showing
vortex.
The same red pheasant. You know?
The vortex is strong, and you've never been armed with more perspective. You've never been armed with more ability to look at the whole picture and decide a strategy. Whether you're J.D. Vance and you want to go down with Trump, whether you're Even Theo Von and Sam Tripoli, two comedians that were just really sucking the dick of Trump, that now are just telling you how disgusted they are by everything. And only a few people like me are going to see that and go, you know what? I don't like you. I don't like you doing that. And this is why I don't really have a lot of faith in necessarily how much further this will propel us, because of our ability to forget these things, to what I'll say is not notice which ones came when you played the Pied Piper. Because if you find out who those people are, you're going to know who's truly on your side versus who's really doesn't even know themselves enough or hasn't developed the consciousness enough to be disgusted with what they did that day. I would remind you all that being disgusted with your behavior is a privilege. It is a luxury. And we live in a time where we insist that luxury is wrong and that success is never having to feel those things, which means success is a poverty of shame. And I would disagree with that strongly. I would say that the better you get, the more seated into yourself you get, you start to notice the bug that you did not respect, that you almost stepped on. You start to notice all the things that you have control over in your day. You see someone in a bad mood and you notice how easy it is to pivot them, that you can manipulate them with magic, and that you want them to have an experience where they treat you like shit just so you can show them what kind of judo you can do with that energy. And when it happens, you feel that you won, that you found the red pheasant that day, and that you end up seeking these events in the world. So you move to New York City, or you go to a job that you think you hate, and you don't hate it. You're secretly entering into this flavor opportunity, this tree of fruit that you get to partake of. And ICE is one of those things. The Republicans are one of those things. Steven Crowder is one of those things. Joe Rogan is one of those things. And I never thought that I would see the day where anyone would start to look at the hypocrisy, and I'm really surprised that it's going around. It's makes me feel ashamed that I had less faith. And I don't know if there's anyone else out there that knows that feeling, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's a luxury that I can afford to feel ashamed of how little I believed in the people, the animals, and watching how some of them are behaving now. I think it's spectacular. I think it's truly stunning. I think Chicago is like a kick-ass city right now. Like the things I've seen out of them, even what the mayor's saying. I didn't know that the governor was a billionaire. I think that's very interesting energy, because you and I we've spoken many times about Beyonders here, right? And about how I don't know if we really compassionate what a billionaire is and what that actually means. And you've got one that's the governor of Chicago that is frankly doing every single thing that you would expect a Luciferian lit, like how we say Luciferian. Sorry, I realized half my audience just went, what? But it's like when you look at someone who's truly lit by their own light, that's truly has their own internal light, it looks like this. The governor of Chicago, the governor of Illinois looks like this, guys.
He didn't have to take a job.
Yeah, exactly.
See, it's the same with Trump. He didn't have to take this job. So it's kind of like the reveal is in that, and not to, and to see beyond. It's like we can do a different type of beyonder, because that's kind of a beyonder move to be a billionaire and come back and to stay in the world and do these strange, wild, wonderful things to show us what's going on, you know?
Yeah, he really seems like he's having fun. The governor of, sorry, his name's like Petra something, but he looks like he's having fun. The mayor of Chicago was put in jail. I didn't know this. He got out of jail. Now he's a superstar. Like he's Chicago's ML King. Like they fucking love that guy. Right now, there's another dude in Chicago, used to be former military, and he's basically like the anti-ICE guerrilla street team. He looks like a guerrillan dictator, like a Gaddafi, like he dresses that way, sort of like half Black Panther, half former National Guard, like his old uniform stuff. And he's considered like a local tribal hero there. And it's just great. Like I don't need to like the guy or not like the guy. I'm just watching human animals be human animals. I'm watching animals be upset and saying, "Hey, I want to do something." And I just think it's so great to watch a gazelle run. To watch it really come into itself.
What is the name of that revolutionary in Mexico? They sung all the songs about him, Chavez or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, so it's kind of like we're in this time of, like scripts are flipping left, right, and center. I mean,
well, it's easy to
blue is red and red is blue, and and
it's easy to be confused by me and my Luciferian talk. After all, I'm the one that's like supports Telecom. I think that the fact that SeaWorld lost a few trainers to this is exactly what's supposed to happen. I think it's absolutely necessary that all these things are happening. So I'm seeing the archetypes of all the other animals in the jungle talking to us. Orcas aren't just taking down boats; they're actually bringing food. It's not as popular a story, but a lot of orcas are actually bringing food to boats now, where they're offering up a fish or something that they just caught, and then
saving dolphins. They're saving dolphins, baby dolphins.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Strange things.
Yeah. It's so this is all white sun, meaning this isn't different behavior. We're just seeing it for the first time. We're able to see it for the first time. And I know it sounds crazy, but it is not beyond the realm of possibility that orcas have been mind controlling sailors for thousands of years, and that everything that we've created now could just be their own steering of us. That just like we're moved by Trump, just like we're moved by a king, so too would every sailor on a boat heading over to a new land be mind controlled for 6 weeks, 6 months even, and land with a different perspective or land with a different history. And that you could even argue that there are places in the world that we've never been that only orca have gone to because they've been able to hide that from us purely from early mental telepathy, purely from just simply learning how to jack into our simple language and learning to put suggestions in place the same way the media does. Which is why I think that understanding how foolish we are, how easily we are fooled, is ultimately going to be the very vessel, the capsule we use to break through the next veil. We will notice that something in the soil, something in the water, something in the atmosphere, something in the vertebrae library has been fine-tuning us in a very delicate way. And that all these
like
experiences are
the great
crucial.
Unlearning, We're in this great unlearning.
Yeah, it's a tomato plant has a stake, and that tomato plant may never notice that stake was even there. It may even call it a crucified cross. It may even call it something that was done to cause it pain. And ultimately, there's a moment that the vegetable may never reach where it's able to understand what's happening to its place. And this is a kundalini. This is an awakening because you save so much calories. For the first time, you suddenly have so many calories now because you're no longer fearful, you're no longer worried, you're no longer paranoid, because the things that you're fearful or paranoid about are exactly your powers of imagination. This is, you want this power, you need this power, you are this power. What scares you is what you would do with it. And so you keep yourself drunk, and you only go through drive-thrus and try and get people deported. That's a huge move. That's a youngling, a neophyte that really believes in themselves, that she really believes in her ability to recover from redemption, to be born again over and over and over, and to always have something there to accept you, to save you, is something that I think we want to keep. This underneath Christianity is a tool that we developed for psychological shame. Our ability to forgive ourselves of our own trespasses against ourselves. Our ability to have a commandment system that insists you can still lie to yourself, but you cannot bear false witness towards someone else. That we've built this framework, it's exactly perfect because it's giving us the tools we need. And when I say perfect, that this Ten Commandments will fall, it will turn into 7. The 7 Noahide laws will fall, and it will turn into a confederacy. And ultimately, I think you'll end up with what the NWO has really been telling you the entire time, which is a giant global worldwide confederacy. I think that we are too terrified of this idea to notice, and we're not necessarily even willing to admit that it's inevitable. But this is what happens when you shake the feathers of peace in one hand and the feathers of war in the other. It's such an effective kind of magic that you will put the entire world into a singular vibration. And we will simply notice that all the trauma ends. It ends because we've entered into this confederacy, a global Turtle Island confederacy, the same thing the Iroquois had. And the only thing different is veto means everything. So be the one thing that would lack in our political system is that right now only the president gets to veto things. And the Iroquois Confederacy said anyone could veto things. And this is a different kind of government that requires the self to believe fully in their own power, to fully embrace their mortality, to fully embrace their desire to deport people because they got cold fries, and to come to grips with the lion inside yourself. This is the only place to go. There's no other place where we can grow except for there. And I know it's terrifying, but the people that are terrified about it also really want more anonymity. They also are fighting for a world where they get to hide more because they're afraid of their own power. And it's just been culturally set as we're afraid of their power. And yeah, you're afraid of their power because you gave them your power. And you're afraid of that the same way, which is why you gave it away anyway.
No, it's afraid of mortality.
It's a beautiful alchemical engine. And we are doing some great things. Want to thank the panel for joining us today. Appreciate you guys. Hope you had a good time.
Good to be here.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much. I know it was short notice, but just so much is happening right now.
No, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Right on. We'll see you guys next time. Guys, thanks for listening to James True Live. We will see you tomorrow.
Listen to